Hi, I'm Kevin Salisbury with Elite Real Estate. Welcome to episode 1 of Kevin Knows Portland. It's no secret that the Portland real estate market has been absolutely on fire the last 3 or 4 years, and multiple offers well above the asking price had really become the rule rather than the exception. And this led us into one of the most unbalanced sellers markets that we've seen in Portland history. As we closed out 2018, however, we started to see some key signs that the market is shifting. We saw an increase in inventory, we saw an increase in total time on market, and the rate at which home values are appreciating has started to slow. So this inspired a lot of people to ask me where I think the market's going as we kick off 2019. So I wanted to take the opportunity with this first video to address the shift that we're seeing in the market and also give some insight into how the changing market conditions might affect you as either a buyer or a seller. So first, I think the important thing to recognize is that the shift that we're seeing is really a transition out of a very abnormal and unbalanced real estate market, and we're starting to move towards a more normal, more stable, and potentially more balanced market conditions. And so, we're not quite there yet, though. When we saw inventory jump by 35% back in September of 2018, the shift felt very drastic for most sellers. Really the status quo had become list your house Friday, have 5 offers by Monday. And so while those days generally seem to have passed, it's interesting to note that the inventory level since September has stayed relatively stable and has really hovered right at or below 3 months worth of inventory. For some perspective, a balanced real estate market is typically 6 months worth of inventory. So we're not quite there yet. So how does this affect you as a potential buyer or a seller? First, as a seller, I think it means that it's still a great time to sell. While it's certainly not the seller's rule all market of 2015 or 2016, I think that the inventory levels are still much more indicative of a market that favors a seller. With that said, with there being more options for buyers out there, I think as a seller you have to have a certain element of patience that your home might not sell in the first 7 to 10 days, and that's okay. With that in mind, I think that the home preparation, the marketing, and the pricing strategy is more important than ever, as this is what truly separates your home from the competition. As buyers have more options, it becomes more important for a seller to position their home as the best product and the best value for the neighborhood. For buyers, I think there's actually quite a bit to be optimistic about as well. Really for the first time in 3 or 4 years, you can buy a home in the Portland market without having to compete against multiple other bids. And so this gives a certain level of leverage back to the buying side, which really hasn't been there for 3 or 4 years. With that said, I think that for buyers, it's still important to recognize that when the right home comes along, you have to be able to act quickly and act with intention. Those homes that have the right home prep, marketing, and pricing strategy are still going to sell very quickly. So it's important to recognize that and not feel like you can sit back and wait. On top of that, prices and interest rates are both expected to continue to rise over the next 2 or 3 years. So I think for buyers, if you're considering buying a house, it might make more sense to start now rather than trying to wait out the market, as the waiting could end up costing you more. So that's all for today's episode. Thanks so much for watching. This is Kevin Knows Portland. If you have questions you would like me to answer in an upcoming video, please feel free to send me an email and I would be happy to address them. If you have questions that are more specifically related to your own situation, give me a call or shoot me a text. I'd be happy to set up a time to meet. Thanks so much again, and I look forward to talking with you all soon.